Howdy, folks. Welcome back or welcome aboard. This is actually kind of a welcome back to us. We have been on the fritz in terms of illnesses for the last couple of weeks, so we apologize, and we also appreciate your indulgence with our replay of some pretty good shows. One of them garnered a lot of attention. We'll talk about that later. And don't bother to check your clock on the wall. This is our 8 p.m. broadcast.
Okay.
All right, just play like it's 8 o'clock.
Yes.
It's 8 p.m. somewhere.
Yeah, because we were going to record and then push it out at 8 o'clock, and we just kind of fell back into our normal habits of doing a radio show. So we're live at 7, and we'll be right back at 8 o'clock.
We were pumped up to go.
with the same exact show. You are listening to the Doc Owen Show. My name is Dr. Richard Owen. I am joined in the Hilltop Studios by...
I'm a surefire.
And...
Uncle Bocce.
Full house. And like I said, we apologize for having to do a couple of reruns, but the illnesses were rather rampant around here.
They were.
Couldn't do anything about it. So, as you know, hopefully, if you don't, you're about to find out. We are all over the social media as Doc Owen Show. DocOwenShow. We also have a blog by the same name, DocOwenShow.com, where we post a bunch of stuff, as well as not just what we bring up on the air, but additional background information that we use to put our on-air show together. We have free apps for both Android and Apple, which is a fabulous place at no charge to go listen to all of the shows that you care to listen to. Spread them around, download them, tell your friends about them. We are really happy to get the word out on what we're doing. We begin every show in a very traditional manner, and that is Ms. Surefire gives us an inspirational quote. Uncle Bocce usually digs deep and gives us a moment in history, and then I finish that off with some sort of a leadership quote or two, and then we dive into the normal activities of the show. So having said that, Ms. Surefire, take it away.
And tonight's quote comes from a new site I was checking out. It's called PassItOn.com. Simple as that. And tonight's quote comes from, all they stated was, ancient Indian proverb. So they didn't say which Indian.
They didn't say which
one.
Okay, well, let's see if we can figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the quote is, certain things catch your eye, but pursue only those that capture the heart.
Whoa. Do that again, please.
Certain things catch your eye, but pursue only those that capture the heart.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's
I
good.
thought that was pretty good.
That sounds American Indian to me. Well, we didn't know what kind of Indian. That sounds...
Yeah.
I'm not sure of the dialect, but it's probably Navajo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Okay, so today in history, sir, did you find something?
Yeah, I did.
So I told you, see, they can't go... If the day occurred...
Something happened.
Something happened.
Right. You're right. I was going to skip this because I didn't think it was all that important, but
Well,
I guess
it may
is.
not be.
It might be to
let
somebody.
the audience exactly.
It might be to somebody.
You never know.
Okay.
Okay.
So on this day in 1776,
Yes.
Congress ordered the first memorial for the Revolutionary War in the name of Brigadier General Richard Montgomery, who was killed during an assault on Quebec.
That is huge. Mm-hmm. I mean, that
Well, now you know that
I'll
we were
bet
trying
that
to
news went on for days. I'll bet if you look up tomorrow, that will still be news.
It may be.
Richard Montgomery. Who knew?
I know a Montgomery, but I
do?
don't know if he's a descendant of that. Man.
Okay. This one is from my friends at the Optimist Club, and it's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Okay. He said, "Self-trust is the first secret of success."
I like that. That's a good one.
Self-trust is the first secret of success.
That can be expanded to a lot of things.
Yep.
Because trusting yourself.
Yeah, you got to trust in yourself. You can't go any further.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Tonight we're going to have a very interesting guest. I think you will enjoy the conversation as much as we enjoyed having it. It's a young man by the name of Joseph Lurtsema, and Mr. Lurtsema is if I remember correctly, 23 or 24-year-old
I think 23.
entrepreneurial millennial who happens to live in Alaska. And so we got a bit of a we had a bit of a joke about that. I'm not sure whether it went on the air or not, but I mean, here we are. We conducted this interview last Tuesday on a day when Texas was closed.
Yeah,
That's right.
it sure
we-
was.
we
We
had-
just stamped close.
We had 1/10 of an inch of ice expected on the road, and we closed
it.
the entire state. And Lurtsema is up in Alaska, probably
Laughing.
waist deep in snow, moving into his new condominium.
There you go.
And they just had an earthquake in Alaska.
yeah, they did
too.
at Kodiak.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
So-
really?
Yeah.
Big one. A big one.
Yeah, it measured pretty high, 7 point
Yeah.
something, if I remember correctly.
There was a
That is
tsunami
big.
warning, too.
Right. So I think you'll enjoy the conversation that we have with Joe, and following that, we might talk just a little bit of sort of local politics, but the point of the story will be that it should not be about politics at all.
There you go.
Okay.
That's true.
However, before we do that, Uncle Bocce is going to bring us up to snuff. Just give us a little bit of a reminder.
Okay.
Because it's been
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Well, actually, this would be the third
Right.
since we talked about former President Polk. And not everybody's memory on presidential information is quite as sharp as yours is, nor do they have access to your notes like you do.
Right.
So bring us up to snuff a little bit, and then let's wind up with Mr. Polk. Take it away, sir.
We'll do that.
All right.
He's 11th president, James K. Polk, and
K stood for?
K stood for Knox, which was a family name.
As in Fort, I remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not very fun.
He ran on a Democratic ticket. He was from Tennessee. He had several different offices before he became president. He was governor of Tennessee. He was a member of the U.S. House of Representatives. He was a member of the Tennessee House of Representatives as well. And he, in the election of 1844, he ran as a Democrat against Henry Clay, who was a very powerful man and a very great American. But he beat out Henry Clay 170 electoral votes to 105. So he won it outright. There was no question about it.
Okay.
Okay? He didn't.
Was there a lot of pushback? Was there a lot of
No.
anguish? Was it a good,
No, it was
clean,
straightforward,
fine, upstanding United
sir.
States presidential election?
Yes, sir.
Okay, glad to hear it.
Now,
Glad to hear it.
the great thing about James K. Polk that I
So
like
we're
the most.
president number 11.
Yes.
And we're maintaining some degree of decorum in
Yes.
our election process.
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting back to it, actually.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. So James K. Polk was a very interesting man as president. He knew exactly what he wanted to accomplish, pretty much like Trump.
Yep.
And everything that he wanted to accomplish by the end of his 4 years, he did accomplish. He was involved in the boundary for Oregon Territory. He was involved in he led the Mexican-American War.
I remember this about him. You said he accomplished. Yeah, he just.
Yeah, he
tick,
did.
Tick, 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 tick,
tick, right off the bat.
Right.
He knew what he wanted. And after Thomas Jefferson, he added more land to the United States than any other president because of the Mexican-American War, where they gained, all of Southwest.
Yeah.
So they got all that. He was a key figure in the idea of manifest destiny, which was the idea that America would grow from coast to coast. That was what we were supposed to be doing.
But wait. Did we know the other coast was out there?
Yes, we knew that because the Spaniards had explored it a long time before we ever got there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to know.
Who was it? No, I forget who it was that actually named the Pacific Ocean when he got there.
Okay.
It was some Spanish guy. We got 3 new states, Texas, Iowa, and Wisconsin. And he had a couple of appointments to the Supreme Court. And now we're going to look at...
So we came in under Polk.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we did. Only because Andrew Jackson stood in the way of getting Texas a state.
Before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and we discussed
anyway,
that was because he probably didn't make any money on it.
Yeah. Okay. As far as his domestic policy is concerned, he questioned the idea of slavery and also what to do about tariffs. He was concerned about setting up high tariffs. He intended to address 4 of the most contentious issues of the Jacksonian era, which were territorial expansion, which he accomplished, the idea of slavery, banking, and tariffs. Those were 3 of the biggies. Slavery had been the least debated at the national level. There just wasn't that much debate. He also had the Walker Tariff passed, which was a study of tariff levels from his Secretary of Treasury, Robert J. Walker. And he was suggesting that they should reduce the tariffs, which is good. So they sent a bill to Congress, and despite opposition from Polk's own cabinet, it got passed. Independent Treasury Act.
Why did they oppose it? Do we know?
Let me see my notes here.
Out of curiosity.
Well, actually, it was the same thing between the North and the South. Remember, the North was quite industrialized,
right,
when the South was very agrarian.
Right.
Okay? So the North did not want high tariffs. The South did not want high tariffs because it would, affect their cotton crops and all of that.
Right.
But the North felt that we needed it. So this kind of like settled that issue between the North and the South.
Okay.
He did establish an independent treasury with deposit offices. They were separate from private or state banks to receive all government funds. The system was designed a long-term replacement for both the second bank, which was killed by Andrew Jackson. And so he wanted to get that away from speculation. And actually what he had done, not Polk, but Andrew Jackson, he actually caused a depression because of the bank. The mess that he made with the banks, letting the banks control all of the money in the United States.
Right.
Okay? It led to a depression. So he had to fight his way out there, fight his way there. He, of course, was a champion of westward expansion. He used the military force to spread American Republican institutions rather than peaceful annexation. So he, and the big issue, of course, was as he gained new states, Are they going to be slave states or are they going to be free states? It
Right.
was
Right.
a very big issue. And the reasoning behind that was if they gave the South more slave states, that there would be an imbalance in the legislature, in Congress, because the South would have a lot of power, which the North kind of was jealous about. The North, they didn't want them to have all that power.
Okay.
So, let's see, what else do you, in Mr. Polk's war, that was the, remember that he actually was pro-slavery because that's what the Democratic Party want. The issue also weakened Polk with his most avid Southern supporters who rallied around John C. Calhoun of South Carolina, another very powerful man.
Right.
Okay. Calhoun formulated what was called the Southern Rights position to this proviso that they were talking about. He introduced resolutions in the Senate affirming the rights of slave owners to transport their human chattel anywhere in the territories of the United States. Okay, so Polk, on the other hand, endorsed the idea of extending the old Missouri Compromise line of 36 degrees 30.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, to the Pacific Ocean. So he just wanted to say everything on that line. So part of California would have been
A slave state. Right.
Yeah. So that didn't fly.
That was like the 36th parallel.
Yes.
Right. In other words, going,
Yeah. That's what they
cutting through
did
the center
on
of the U.S.
the compromise.
Right.
The Missouri Compromise.
Right.
Okay. So, and in foreign policy, annexation of Texas was considered foreign policy. So Polk did do that.
That was probably us that insisted on calling it foreign policy. We're Texans.
Could be. Yeah. Well, actually, yeah, because we were a country then. So yeah, that is foreign.
Absolutely.
There you go.
The Republic of Texas.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Exactly.
We
Settled.
we wanted our just respect.
And he settled the Oregon problem because
was?
Britain and the U.S. shared. And remember, the Oregon territory was the current state of Oregon and the state of Washington, and also a little bit of British Columbia. So between the Brits and us, there was always contention about it.
But
Polk
where the land
settled
was,
it.
where the land was
Yeah,
going to
Polk pretty much settled that, our northern boundary.
be. Okay.
Okay, and we actually wanted.
When you say Polk settled that,
Well,
in other words,
during his administration.
during his administration.
Yes.
Well, but that's the point that I'd like to make for the listeners. Very much like Trump settled that, and I'm doing air quotes around the word Trump.
Sure.
It's a negotiation.
Right.
Whoever's in charge, the president gets the credit for it.
Yeah.
But when in fact it was probably a back and forth between a lot of different people, and he successfully negotiated.
Yes, he did.
The deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, he really thought that we should have gone up to the 54th parallel, which would have given us parts of British Columbia.
Right.
Okay. But he finally settled on the 49th, and that's where that line is today.
Nah, it's okay.
And of course, the war with Mexico ended up with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo.
Yep.
And that's where we gained the all the territory west of Texas.
Right.
Let's see, the Treaty of Grenada was part of the Mexican War, but
Potato.
tomato, yeah, right. Expand its claims into Central America, the Caribbean.
What's that
Polk
little song?
responded positively to the initiative of New Grenada, present-day Colombia. So,
What's that song? I can see it. From the Lion King.
ooh. No, that's no.
The Manata Kamata Karada.
Yeah.
What is that?
Kuna Matata.
Yeah, okay. That's
Kuna-
wait, while you were going through the Granada thing, that's what was going through my head. I had to get it out there. Sorry, folks. We digress. Okay, so the Kumba Patata, potato, tomato thing. Okay.
So
I can see them dancing. I can still see them dancing.
part of the agreement, too, was that it conveyed to the U.S. the right of way across the Isthmus of Panama. So that's how we got involved in that. There was no canal at the time.
Oh, okay.
So as far as his impact and legacy concerned, he won the election of 1844. Let's see here. And he accomplished nearly everything that he said he wanted to. Remember, that's what I said.
Yeah.
The acquisition of Oregon Territory, California Territory, New Mexico, positive settlement of the Texas border dispute, lower tariff rates, the establishment of a new federal depository system, and the strengthening of the executive office. So that's his legacy.
Okay.
So-
Sounds pretty strong.
Yeah, no.
But he was only there 4 years.
He was on. That's all he wanted. He knew what he wanted to do. He got in there. He did it, and got out.
Are you listening? Is everybody listening?
I'm listening.
Yeah.
What did he just say? He said 4 years.
Yes.
Here's what I'm going to do. Ching, ching, ching. There you go. Bye. Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was quite.
Who
a
ever
leader.
heard of such a thing?
Yeah. Of course, he was quite a leader, but he had Congress on his
I'll
side.
bet
too.
his grandchildren were extremely disappointed in him. Well, because he left them no legacy.
Yeah.
I mean, now we've got children of grandchildren of great-grandchildren that are serving in the same office, running from the same district in
Yeah,
Congress and shit
yeah.
like
Oh,
that.
shit. Mhm.
Yes.
So,
Exactly.
Grandpa, what
Which
are
I
you doing?
really
Yeah.
don't think is good for the country, but
You don't? Duh. Is that it?
yeah,
That's
that's
all
it.
we got
Next
about
week-
Polk?
Yeah.
Well, I guess when you're a one-term president and you basically accomplish everything you set out to accomplish, it doesn't leave a lot of room for naysayers.
Exactly.
It's interesting.
So next week,
Who's up next week?
Next week would
Who gets
be-
to follow this character?
Zachary Taylor,
Of course.
a war hero.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll see that element of the
Yeah.
election of Zachary Taylor.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and
Who are
then
you?
we'll continue on. I am Uncle Bachi, UNCLEBACI at DocGoandShow.com.
Good job.
Thank you, Uncle Bachi.
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
Thank you.
I mean, I wish we had more time to spend on Polk because he was so successful.
Yeah, exactly.
So we told you we're going to play for you a conversation that I had with a gentleman by the name of Joseph Lurtsema, and certainly we are. And then after that, we will dive a little bit into some local politics, as I said. Just barely going to scratch the surface because we're going to spend an inordinate amount of time on it over the next couple of weeks, because I think it's important that the audience understand exactly kind of how this works and how it's going on. And we're talking about the office of the district attorney, and it's not just relevant to us here; it's relevant to all the listeners in the United States for sure, and even beyond as you go up the ladder from district attorney to state attorney general to United States attorney general, yada yada yada. We'll see the progression and understand why it's important. So that we're going to do, and then we will talk probably a little bit tonight about the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI.
The same word.
Yeah.
Investigation
Yeah.
incompetence.
Sounds
And well, I'll say it when we get into it. You know, it's a doggone shame that they're going to wind up. There's people talking about the FBI and the missing texts, and now the found texts, and what's been going on with Mueller, and the release the notes, and release the memo, and and they're saying that if you don't do this or if you do this, both sides are out there, that the FBI is going to be tainted. Well, I got news for you. It's too late.
Too late.
Just the fact that we're having the discussion is the tainting of the FBI.
That's right.
And it's a shame because I would submit to you that in their rank and file, the individuals that worked for the Federal Bureau of Investigation and actually do their jobs, the bulk of the people are very good citizens and very good at and conscientious about doing their jobs. And yet a few bad apples can spoil the entire barrel and can spoil the world's impression of this organization. And that's
right.
really not fair. And I'm saying that because I have the opportunity currently of working with some relatively high level FBI agents. And I know.
Oh, they finally got after you.
And I know, yeah, it happens.
Run, Doc, run.
So, but they're just like us. I mean, they're just like us. They're doing the best they can, and it's a shame that this is detracting from their
Absolutely.
desire to do the right thing. So, but we'll get back to that when we talk about the FBI. So let's see what this fellow. His name is Joe Lurtsema, Lurtsema. He is an entrepreneur in and around Anchorage, Alaska, if I'm not mistaken. So is he queued up and ready to chat?
He is ready to roll.
Take it away, Joe.
We'll kick it off. We are about to have a conversation with a young millennial entrepreneur from Anchorage, Alaska, by the name of Joseph Lurtsema. Am I pronouncing that correctly, Joseph?
That would be correct.
Okay, good. I knew I got the Joseph right, but I was more concerned about the Lurtsema part. So I've forgotten exactly what sparked us or what we saw in an article on you or somewhere out on the social media. I think Anna actually saw it and said, we need to talk to this guy. You're going against the grain, right?
That a lot of people will tell me that would be correct.
Well, there's an awful lot of successful people who have done exactly what you're doing. Followed their heart and their soul and their logic. So,
Yep.
I was reading the article, and you were heading off to be a neurosurgeon, and then you said, "No, I kind of like hiking in the woods."
Well, okay, I'll give you a little background. So
Okay, yeah.
I was a college student at the University of Anchorage, Alaska, and I went as a pre-med student. I was very, passionate and interested about studying the brain and surgery, and so I thought, hey, I'll be a neurosurgeon. And as time was going on, I was thinking, do I want to be 35, 36 years old by the time I'm done with my education? Because to be that specialized requires a lot of education and a few $1 million of debt, depending on what school you go to.
Right.
And so I thought, I'll take a year off. I'll take a year off of school and kind of figure out what to do. And in that time, I started my first business.
Right.
Where I took people who came to Alaska. They came from all over the world to different hiking tours throughout Alaska. I take them on backpacking trips, taking them on day hikes, I take them on multi-day hikes,
Okay.
and I really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed the freedom and the flexibility of owning my own business instead of having a boss.
Sure.
And I enjoyed that for a while. But now I own my own marketing agency. It's called Lurtsema International, and basically I take care of people's social media accounts.
Right.
I do Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, all that jazz, and it's worked really well for me. I mean, I don't have a college degree. I don't have a college marketing background, but before.
You may be better off without it.
Yep.
In other
Yep.
words, you're not. You need to know that although I have a PhD, I didn't get it until I was way late in life, 63, because I wanted to be a professor. I spent my early life exactly like you are, and
Oh, wow.
and went back and got an undergrad when I was 33, and then MBA at 55, and so I'm way out of. I was always way out of sync, and did pretty much like you are doing early on in my career. I was an independent until I was 30 plus years old, and so I've never ever. I've always thought that your direction is correct. College is not for everyone. And unfortunately, it has a tendency to take this freedom of thought and expression out of people and make them fit into a particular mold. You know, which in today's world, in today's virtual world, that's a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
There is no traditional, I mean, back in my day, if you wanted to start a business, it took all kinds of overhead and brick and mortar and yada, yada, yada. Nowadays, you can start a business, as you pointed out, with an iPhone.
Yeah, honestly, I could do my entire business at a coffee shop on my phone.
Right.
I have a computer, but I could do everything I need to do on my iPhone.
Exactly. And the world, there's an awful lot of people like you that are beginning to come to that realization, who prefer the freedom of the travel. I mean, there's young people out there traveling, writing blogs, supporting themselves by traveling around and taking pictures.
That would be correct. Yep. There's plenty of those people out there.
Which is pretty cool. And those are the people you're saying, what I hear you saying is, those are the folks that can be your clients if they want some help building their presence in this virtual world.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do, I manage accounts from all different industries. I have clients who, run a restaurant, who own a craftsman business, who are realtors. I have a few realtor clients. It's just, there's all kinds of different businesses out there that need social media present, because that's the direction the market is going right now. And that's why I chose this industry.
And you can provide that social media presence from no matter where you are and no matter where they are.
That would be correct.
That's the really fun and intriguing part about it, is it's all virtual.
Yep.
So what's next? So how are you gonna? You're what, about 3 years into your Lurtsema International? 3 or 4 years? What?
Yeah. So I've actually started it in July. I've been an entrepreneur for 5 years.
Okay.
I did the high sourcing for a while, and then I was an independent for a magazine company where I sold ads until, I did some my research, and I got certified in social media marketing through Columbia Business School.
Okay. So you have let's be real clear. You do continue to educate yourself or inform yourself, right?
Right. So, yep. So to be 100% clear, I'm not anti-college. I'm pro-pragmatic higher education, whatever that may be.
That's what I meant by saying it's not for everyone.
Yep.
And it is for some people. It serves a very, very good purpose, but it is not for everyone. So we shouldn't all have to, just in lockstep do this thing. And that's what I hear you saying as well, is think about what you're doing. Think about where you want to be and what you want to do. And then
right. And
go ahead.
Yeah, and I'll say it was it was very challenging to get to where I was, because the idea of going to college was older than me. My parents wanted me to go to college before I was born. And it's like, a lot of my peers, they felt the same way. They went through high school, they went to college, and I have friends who are upward $100,000+ in college debt with a liberal arts degree, and they're starving.
Right.
They don't make a lot of money. I feel like society, as a whole, has sold a dream on if you go to college, you'll get the job of your dreams, and you'll make enough money, and you'll be a wealthy person. But in reality, it's a simple economic supply and demand curve. There is so much supply of people who are going to college and such little demand for somebody with a liberal arts degree. But on the flip side, trade schools, there's not a lot of people anymore going to trade schools, and there's so much more demand for it. And so I have a friend who, high school dropout, he took this 9-month course on petroleum engineering, and he started out working on the North Slope for $180,000. I mean, it's just stuff like that.
Hello. Yeah, I mean, but it's thinking outside the box. It's being willing to take on those challenges. And I've always been a proponent of trade schools. I think they serve a wonderful purpose, and but you're right. For quite some period of time, and it may still be going on, society had a tendency to look down upon if you didn't have a college degree, if you didn't, you were, like you said, you were never going to amount to anything. Which I think, for my generation, which I'm probably. You're 23. I'm your grandparents' generation. It was a true statement. In other words, like you said, the way for us to get into the workforce at the right level was to have a college degree. But that's also when the colleges were turning out 3,000 and 4,000 graduates a year, and not 50,000.
Right, because there was a lot less people going to college around the time you were going to college. So it made you, as somebody with a college degree, a lot more competitive compared to somebody else that didn't have one. The problem nowadays is everyone has a college degree.
Sure.
So how do you set yourself apart?
Well, and then you get yourself locked in, as you said, to that debt, because not everybody pays for it as they go along. So,
Correct.
You get yourself locked into that debt and making those payments, and you got to take any kind of a job just so you can. I mean, it becomes a real kind of a grist mill of activity that is totally not productive. So, well, so what can we? What's the key? What can we tell your fellow millennials out there? Because that's who our target audience is. What's the key? What's the key element? You use the term pragmatic education, or if you had a particular phrase that you used.
Right, pragmatic higher education. So the first step, what I would say to a fellow millennial is be self-aware. Who are you? What kind of person do you want to be? What are your dreams? And when you got that, when you figure out a direction that you want to take with your life, do everything in your power to go there. But also, you have, if you're going to be an artist, you have to understand that it's a very competitive, and they don't say starving artists for no reason. It's just do what you love, but make sure what you're doing is in the market. Because if you love something that but you're going to be poor doing it, that's a choice. You can make that choice. But if you want to make a lot of money, then you take something that's going to that's going to make you a lot of money.
Right.
Everybody has different goals, and colleges can get you there. If you want to be a doctor, you got to go to college. If you want to be an engineer, you need to go to college. Dentist, college. But if you want to be an entrepreneur and do social media marketing, you don't really have to. You don't really have to go to college.
No, you don't. So you mentioned the fact about if you want to be an artist, realize that you're going to be poor. I have a tendency. Everybody's happiness is a little different. In other words, artists are generally not driven by financial success. You know what I'm saying? Their mindset is people telling them, buying their works and or praising them and or recommending. They're driven by a completely different set of rules from a somebody that's interested in financial success. And so,
correct.
we have to be real careful.
That's really good. Right. Yes. That's yeah. If you want to be an artist and you're passionate about that, not because of the money, because of the art, that's great. But money is just one of those things you have to consider because that's what makes the world go around. And if you don't have a plan, you're gonna put yourself in a bad position.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. You don't. There's not a lot of overweight artists.
Right.
That's another way of saying it. So, what can we do to help you? What can we put out there for Lurtsema International? How do they find you? If I've got some young entrepreneurial type members of the audience that could use your social services capabilities, do you have a website? How do you do it? How do you market your business?
Yeah, they can, if they want to find me, they can go to my website. I mean, I make my number known to people so they can, call me. But yeah, it's lurtsemainternational.com.
Okay, so, there you go. Spelled all the way out, right?
Spell all the way out. Lurtsema, that can be a little challenging for people to spell sometimes, but then international spelled out.
Okay. Yeah, it's Lurtsema.
That's correct.
Right. That's from memory. Cool.
Yeah, good job.
I have enjoyed it. I think it's been real beneficial. I'd like to circle back with you, every once in a while just to see how you're doing. And one last question.
Sure.
How are your parents? Are they?
My parents are great. At first, they were heartbroken.
Yeah.
I'm very public when I say this because a lot of parents, a lot of millennials face the pressure, have a lot of pressure from the parents.
Of course.
And I had to pretty much tell my parents to their face with them, saying, you're not going to go anywhere unless you go to college. I have to tell them, you know what, Mom, you know what, Dad, I have a plan, and I'm going to make sure this plan works. And now they're totally supportive of me now that they see I have money in my bank.
Well, I think they were hurt, not necessarily hurt, but disappointed and concerned. And
oh yeah, and parents, yeah,
that's their job. And,
my parents are some of the most supportive people that I know. It's just when the idea of your son going to college is older than your son, you have this, this goal in mind that's being, corrupted because your son has different ideas. So that took a little while for them to acclimate.
Sure. Well, tell him you just talked to a guy that followed the same sort of a beaten path that you are, and then went back and got an undergrad degree when he was 33. So don't give up on you.
It's all good.
There may always be a reason. And don't you give up on it either. So,
yep.
I'm not saying as a point of last resort, but you may decide that that there's something out there you want to know a little more about.
Yep, we all go through life with a different journey in mind.
Exactly.
However you get it done.
Well, congratulations on your marriage and your new house and your business, and you got an awful lot on your plate, but you fully sound like you're up to it. So
yeah, no kidding. In the span of 2 months, I got married and bought a house. So I'm ready to relax a little bit.
I can imagine that. Better you than me. Well, don't let the icy roads get to you. And thank you again, Joseph. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for letting me on your show.
We'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. God bless. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Did you hear what he said? I know you heard a lot of what he said.
Yeah.
But one of the things he said, kicking it off, was to his young millennial friends was, be sure to know yourself.
There you go.
Right?
Absolutely.
Let me reread for you, just for fun, our leadership quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Self-trust is the first secret of success.
That's true.
That's sort of what
really
he
is.
said.
Yeah.
That's sort of what that is sort of what he said. A very bright, articulate, enthusiastic 23-year-old, and Joseph Lurtsema is a good example of why we do this show. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah.
I would submit to the entire audience, young, old, et cetera, that he's not alone. That the Lurtsemas of the world, the Andres Holidays of the world, the millennials that we are able to find and have conversations with, they are out there. I remember vaguely, but I still do remember that when I was that age and could reach around behind my back and grab my long hair, that I was going to amount to nothing, was what we were told as young people, because we didn't look like everybody else. Everything was different. We were anti-establishment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And son of a gun, the world is still here, and some of us have amounted to something. Not necessarily me, but I'm a work in process.
No.
So I do hope you enjoyed that. Let's talk just a little bit. We've probably got about 10 minutes or so left. Let's talk. We touched on the FBI thing. We touched on the missing text. In the court of public opinion, this is a done deal. At least from what I can see and from what I can gather. And the greater the denial on the other side, the stronger the public opinion is that they're guilty. They being, a whole litany of folks out of the previous administration, very high-ranking officials that we are supposedly required to respect and honor what they have to say. We have every reason to believe that they would tell us the truth and nothing but the truth as American citizens, right?
Right.
And we now know that is pure bull sugar. A lot of us knew it when they were telling us that it was bull sugar. It just wasn't hard to see. Take it back as far as you want to take it back. I think the real culminating moment for me was the deal about the film and the attack on Benghazi. And there were incidences before that. Fast and Furious was before that. But Benghazi was the straw that broke the camel's back as far as I was concerned. And that was what, folks? 8 years ago? 7 years ago?
Yeah.
And we're trying to get to the bottom of it. And we're hearing about secret societies that are meeting off-site. Talk about deep state. Talk about, it almost leaves me speechless. I would get so tired of just ranting and give us the information. I don't give a crap about what the facts are. You're not going to tell me what they are straight up anyway. Just, 9 a.m. in the morning, every one of you know exactly who you are. Save us the trouble of hunting you down and report your ass to a federal prison near you.
Thank you.
Just do it.
That's right.
Do the right thing it may be for the first time in your adult life. Do the right thing. It's not that hard.
Good.
That reminds me of something my mom says, that life is really simple, but people make it complicated.
That's exactly right. And they keep trying to cover this up and cover that up and obfuscate this and obfuscate that. That means make it look like something it's not, for those of you that don't understand. And they're just buying time, and they're look over here, look come on, people. Cut the crap.
That's right.
And that goes for both sides. I mean, you're just playing with the emotions of this country, and I don't think it's going to serve any of you well. Republican, Democrat,
That's right.
liberal, conservative, label it what you want to label it. That gets me fired up and leads me into the next part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Come to find out, unbeknownst to us, because we don't read the local newspaper.
That's true.
And by the way, for those of you in the audience who are millennials or close to that or have shaky memories, once was a day when every major metropolitan area in the United States had at least 2 newspapers.
Yeah. Some
Right.
3, some 4. Yeah.
But every one of them had at least 2.
Mm-hmm.
San Antonio Express News, San Antonio Light. Dallas Morning News, Dallas Times Herald. Dallas Fort Worth Star Telegram. Okay? Houston Chronicle, Houston Post. You're from New Jersey. What was there?
Yeah.
New York Times, New York Post,
Daily News,
New York Daily News. There were multiple.
Herald Tribune. There was a lot of them in New York.
Exactly. Over time, we now have what in almost every major metropolitan area in the country?
One very unpopular paper.
We have a newspaper,
a newspaper.
right?
Not worth
Well-
what it's printed on.
And so what is there? What is there that holds that newspaper accountable to telling you an unbiased version of the truth? May I answer for you?
Yes, please.
Absolutely nothing.
That's
That's right.
correct answer.
Talk radio, yes, but not printed media. And there's still a lot of people reliant upon printed media.
Oh, yeah.
Come to find, we have a guest on our show from time to time, the local district attorney, a young man by the name of Nico LaHood. All right? Come to find out, when we went earlier to talk with him, and the conversation will be on next week, he's being bashed by the local newspaper for being on conservative talk show Doc Owen show. And he's being bashed for being not Democrat enough, quote unquote, for being on our show, and
So frivolous.
that's not the point.
Yeah, I know.
The point is, do you want? I don't want a district attorney that's a Democrat. I don't want a district attorney that's a Republican.
There you go.
I want a district attorney that's a district attorney.
There
That's
you
right.
go.
That
Yes.
he is the criminal district attorney for this area, right? I want him to prosecute based on the law, not based on politics.
That's right.
Exactly.
I have always excoriated the fact I hate party labels in local politics.
Amen.
Yes, that's true.
It didn't used to be allowed. Creep, 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 creep.
Lower the bar, lower the bar.
So I'm not going to give the author of the article in the newspaper the justice of using his name this week, but I will next. And we're going to get into it as to exactly what bias is and the harm that you're doing to your readers.
There you go.
End of discussion. Got nothing to do with Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, DA, not DA, whatever. You are a disservice to the practice of your craft. And I'll leave it at that. And he knows exactly who I'm talking about. And thanks for dropping my name, by the way. Front row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care, pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.